Morning. Okay. I can start that again. All right. So I'm so grateful that you're here. And look at all of you. This is amazing. It's one of my favorite things to do is just to look and love everybody who's here. It's definitely one of my favorite things to do. It's my favorite day. Some of you probably know that. I always like to say that it's the best day ever. And it's hard to say something like that sometimes, or hard to receive something like that sometimes, whenever you just get the word that in Florida there were 50 people in a gay bar that were shot. And 50 people who were injured. And that happened at 2 o'clock in the morning this morning in Florida. So how can I go and say that today's the best day ever when something like this shows up? How can I reconcile that? Well, part of it is our monthly theme this month is freedom from discord. Now, I imagine that that event is causing discord in the lives of many. It's causing a lot of people to think and to be stirred, maybe be angry. But the interesting thing is there's a woman who wrote a book called My Stroke of Insight. She's a brain scientist, Jill Bolte Taylor, and she talked about her recovery from a massive stroke. And she said there's a physiological mechanism behind emotion. So an emotion like anger, that's an automatic response, lasts only 90 seconds from the moment it's triggered until the moment it runs its course. 1.5 minutes. 1.5 minutes. When it lasts any longer, which it usually does, it's because we've chosen to rekindle it. Emotion comes up, we fuel it with our thoughts, we keep an old storyline going, we strengthen our old habits. So I can use this as an example of the fact that people hate gay people. And I can use that as an illustration of me being fearful in this world. But I'm not going to choose to do that. I came out when I was 19, and I told my mom, and most of you know my mom, and my mom has been a very supportive, wonderful person, and it actually shocked me that she was not really cool with the fact that I came out at that time. Obviously, a lot has changed. I had a lot of friends. I had some friends who were gay at the time, and I thought she would be really cool with it. But I didn't understand the psychological underpinnings that our society has, especially on parents of gay people. I didn't understand that when she went over to her work in her cubicle and she had a picture of me on her wall, and her good coworker was like, "Oh, this is your daughter? Is she single?" And my mom would say yes, and she'd say, their coworker would say, "Oh, my son is single as well." And she didn't know what to say to that because she didn't want to be discriminated against herself. She didn't want people to think, well, what did she do? And she looked up PFLAG, which is an organization for friends and family of people who are gay, just to figure it out. She went through this whole process, which I didn't even know about until later, when she came out to her church community after 9/11. Because in her church community at that time, she was going to a Methodist church, and there was a woman who was the mother of a gay man who was in the plane on 9/11, who helped them fight the terrorists and get the plane down. But he was gay, and so he didn't receive any funding from that whenever the 9/11 thing happened, because it wasn't acceptable. So there's a lot of things that I would say are different than this idea when I start talking about a world that works for everyone. I want to say that there's a discontinuity with what's happening on the planet right now and this vision that I have for a world that works for everyone. But what happens right now, what's happening in this room right now, is only an effect. This moment is an effect, and our futures are created by the thoughts and actions that we're doing right now. Does that make sense? It's like Mary Morrissey says, everything was created twice. The first time it was created in the mind, and then the earth, the universe, God, whatever you call it, it creates an action, a ripple effect in the universe, and it comes through in the form of a manifestation. So somebody had this idea for this really cool podium, which I like, by the way. I love my podium. They had this idea with this like Superman, like, awesome plexiglass podium. And they thought, oh, this would be a great thing to do. And they had this idea. And then they had to go through a process of going through the builders, the appropriate people, finding out who makes it. And then eventually there was a final product. But it first started with a thought. Our thoughts, our intentions, our ideas are the most powerful things in the universe. They are the most powerful things in the universe. We can do anything and create anything. We actually have freedom, pure freedom, all here. But we've grown up in a society, in a place where we've been taught that we don't have freedom in our minds, in our thoughts, in our actions. And we go along with it oftentimes. We believe that the place that we need to step into is that idea of, I'm not enough, or this world can't be peaceful. But those are our thoughts creating that idea. Even though we see evidence outside of us that may make that appear so, it's only a result of prior thoughts. And so we're the ones to establish the new idea, the next generation of what is emerging on this planet. We're the ones to create the world that works for everyone. And it's interesting because we talk about here cause and effect. Cause and effect are one. As I sow, so shall I reap. You may have heard that in the Bible. As I give, so shall I receive. But isn't it interesting? As I give, so shall I receive. We have to be the ones to put it out first before we get it back. And we can utilize our life, what's happened in our life, as a reflection of maybe where we've been in our thoughts, or maybe where we've bought into where society says is okay, or is appropriate, or is the right thing to do. We can utilize our life as kind of a historic account on where we've been in our heads. Now, that doesn't mean we have to use that as evidence for our future. That means we use it as evidence that we can create whatever we want for our future. I know it's sometimes challenging. You may or may not be experiencing some kind of discord in your life. Maybe financial discord, maybe disharmonious relationships, maybe you're in a job that you don't like. It could be that you're experiencing that. And what if you use that as evidence for your life to be changing? What if you use that as evidence that because it was created and you created it, you can also uncreate that? Wouldn't it be so impressive if you were able to shift and believe that you are amazing and glorious and a powerful being of light and love? Wouldn't that be amazing? If you could believe that and then have it transform externally? Instead of using that outside evidence as proof that you aren't that, what if you used it as proof that you are, and you get to be the one that shows the world that you are? Freedom from discord is your contribution to global freedom for everyone. You are the one that gets to change the world. I am the one that gets to change the world. Which means when I have that discord in me, it is up to me to create the freedom, to create the new choice. Because each choice in our life we have is absolutely our own choice to have. I don't know about you, but I've been in a job that I didn't like before. Not this one, thank God. So I've been in a job I didn't like before. And guess who woke up every morning and kept going to that job? Me. I chose it. I would keep choosing that job over and over again. I didn't like it, but I chose it. And then I pretended, oh, I'm such a victim to my job. But who's choosing it? Me. Isn't that ironic? It's so funny that we do that. I don't know. Maybe I'm the only one who does that. I don't know. Okay, good. But that's in every area of our life. If you're experiencing discord, it's your opportunity to choose differently. And when you choose differently in the direction of your most expansive and greatest desires, you're choosing for the benefit of the whole world. Because as I've said before, we're all connected. We're not only all connected, there's one infinite universe. There is one thing. The thing itself, I call it God. You may call it quantum field, the force. You may call it whatever you want. I don't care what you call it. But somewhere inside of you, you know that it's true. Somewhere inside of you, you know we're all connected. You know that the deep sadness that rippled the world on 9/11, when that happened in 2001, it's because we all felt it. We were all touched by it. We all knew at some level something was happening. And we all feel what's happened in Florida. Even if I hadn't told you, some part of your being would know that this is not how we want our lives to be. I believe that we want our lives to be free from discord. I believe that we want to create a world that works for everyone. I believe that we are here connected at this time and this period on this planet because we're light workers in this world. And we've been attracted to each other in order to choose a different path for this planet. But it also means that we're here to do the really challenging work, which means we have to change ourselves. We get to be the ones free from discord. We get to be the ones to make a new choice from this world. We get to be the ones that don't apply blame on other people. Which is fun to say, Abigail, gee, don't blame anybody for what's happened on this planet, right? But what if there was another way that we could move through those emotions? We're going to be affected no matter what. I love this book. I don't know. I think Linda talked about it last week. Living Beautifully with Uncertainty and Change. Which is interesting, huh? Interesting book of the month to pick for this, for what's happening right now. What I love, and I actually don't know how to say her name. Oh, no, I do. Pema Chodron. Pema Chodron. She's a Buddhist guru. Nun. There we go. Nun's the word. I was gonna say monk. I'm like, she's a woman. It doesn't matter. Anyway, she's a Buddhist nun, and she said that our resistance to the fundamental uncertainty of our situation is what causes suffering. When we resist change, it's what causes suffering. Our discomfort arises from all of our efforts to put ground under our feet. If we can embrace the wobble, the uncertainty of every situation, it's called enlightenment or awakening to our true nature. Dr. David Bruner is one of my many mentors and coaches, and he had a talk one time about how he and his partner Mauricio rode Segways for the first time. They did one of those tours in San Francisco, a little Segway tour. The interesting thing, which I haven't ridden a Segway, so I wouldn't know this, but when you get on it, apparently it wobbles. And the instructor said you need to embrace the wobble in order for you to ride forward easily. And I thought that's really interesting because everything in our life wobbles, right? The planet wobbles. Everything wobbles. Body parts, whatever, But everything wobbles. So what if we were to embrace the wobble? Embrace the things in your life that knock you off the path as part of the thing that keeps you on the path? What if all of it was designed for you to step into your own way of being in a fuller, freer, more expansive way? I watched a old Twilight Zone episode. Gina's going through all the Twilight Zone episodes, but she showed me a really good one. And it was this guy, and he was a bank robber. So he robs a bank, and then the policeman shoots him, and then he wakes up, and then there's this guy who's all dressed in white, and he's like, "Oh, I'm your guide." And he guides this guy. The bank robber says, "Oh, really?" And the guide says, "Yes. Let me take you to your house." And he takes him to this mansion, and the bank robber is like, "Oh, this is great." And the guide says, "Well, what else do you want?" And he says, "Oh, I want some beautiful women. So he brings 3 women in. He's loving this. And, "Oh, I want to go to the casino and win lots and lots and lots of money." So the guy goes to the casino, and the bank robber, he wins lots and lots of money. And the bank robber is really great until he just keeps winning. He always wins. And he's got all the girls. And he's got everything he wants. And he keeps getting everything he wants, and there's like an emptiness to it all. And the guy's like, "Hey, you're heaven. You can make this better. You're the guide. You're my angel, right, for heaven." And then the angel says, "Oh, you think you're in heaven?" Yeah. Because getting the things that we want isn't what it's really about, right? It's not. And maybe we want that ideal job, or we want a lot of money, or we want all this stuff, but that's not really what it's about. It's great to have it, and we can. We can make this world that works for everyone. We can make it so there's not, 99% of the people are suffering and 1% of the people hold all the money in the entire world. It doesn't have to be that way. We created it. It doesn't have to be that way. It can be a world where there's a depth to what we do. And when I mean what we do, I mean who we are. The depth to who we are comes in every choice that we make every day. If you're choosing to be in alignment with anger and hatred, if you're choosing to rail against people for something, maybe for shooting others. Mother Teresa said she would never attend an anti-war rally. If they had a peace rally, she would attend. So make it your choice to be for things and not against things. We're standing for a world that works for everyone. Well, how do you do that? How can we live wholeheartedly in the face of impermanence? What if we know that one day we're going to die? What is it like to realize that we can never fully and completely get it all together? Is it possible to increase our tolerance for instability and change? So apparently in Buddhism, I love this, they call this the 3 vows. This is from the book, the 3 vows, but also called the 3 commitments. I prefer to use that language because to me a commitment is a stronger word than a vow. I don't know why that is. I don't know if that's just me. You can use the word vow if you want. But for Buddhism, they have 3 commitments. And what this is a way to recognize that what is underneath us is like sand. Everything is shifting and moving all the time. Everything is shifting. And in order to embrace the wobble, you commit to doing these 3 things. The first commitment is do not cause harm with our actions, words, or thoughts. Be unattached to our anger. Be unattached to our anger, jealousy, self-doubt, or blame. It's not saying that you don't have it. It's saying being unattached to it. The second commitment, which I'll talk about next week, is take action to help others. And the third commitment is embrace the world just as it is. So do not cause harm with our actions, words, or thoughts. Be unattached, which means do not cling to our anger, jealousy, self-doubt, or blame. Anything can trigger our clinging. We could be triggered because, let's say you spilled coffee on yourself in the morning, or you hear about something on the news that really upsets you. And we get hooked into a discomfort. And then we turn to things to relieve our discomfort. We don't want to be uncomfortable. It is uncomfortable to be uncomfortable, just so you know. It's uncomfortable to change, right? And so what do? As humanity, usually we go to food, we go to alcohol, sex, shopping, or we go to being critical or unkind to people. Those are all behaviors we go to because we're uncomfortable in the discomfort of change. So one way to deal with this is by doing a mindfulness meditation. All you have to do is put all your attention on the pain or the uncomfortability in your body, and then breathe in and out of the spot that hurts. So instead of avoiding what you are, opening yourself up to that pain. Now the secret here is to drop the story that goes with it. Why it happened, whose fault it is, who's right or wrong. And whenever we open ourselves up to this expansiveness of experiencing what is, 90 seconds, right? For a minute and a half, all you have to do is just be with it. Then it dissolves. Without having your story or attachment. So maybe you are blaming. Maybe you are angry. Maybe you are triggered by things, but just be in it. Just be in it. And don't react from it. And that, my friends, heals you. And every time you are doing an act of healing on yourself, you're doing an act of healing on the world. Now, I noticed this with myself. I'm taking singing lessons, and it's really uncomfortable for me, by the way. Although many of you, like Deanna, Scott, brilliant singers, maybe many of you love to sing, I have this fear that I got when I was a really young child that somebody told me I couldn't sing, and so I believed them. Now, it's funny because I'm a speaker. I'm cool with speaking in front of people, but singing, And so Melissa Felipe is one of my singing coaches, and she gave me this exercise. It's called the Hey You exercise. And the idea is, I imagine that somebody puts a $100 bill in my hand, and then they run away, and then I say, "Hey you," and I go, "Hey you, hey," like that, right? And so it's, yeah. Okay, that was uncomfortable just to do for you. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. So anyway, I was telling Melissa, like, I hate this exercise because I'm like, I hate how I sound when I'm doing this, but I want to belt it. Like, I want to belt it like Melissa does, or like Deanna did. Like, I want to belt it, right? And she said, everybody sounds the way you sound. Whenever you scream out, but you've been taught that your voice is, you took on this idea that whenever you're screaming like music, that you sound awful and terrible. And so you choose not to.
Hey you.
Hey you, yeah. And I had to, and then she had me sing it to her out loud, which was really uncomfortable. And what I wanted to do in my head is she says, "Oh, your voice is really beautiful." And my voice, in my head, it was like, that is, yeah, you're just saying that. You don't really believe that, And I had this whole story, and I had to stop and take it in. And I had to recognize, where am I arguing for my limitations? Where am I arguing for the idea that I'm not enough. I'm not worthy. Where am I arguing? And I could see that coming up in me. But I was present to it. I just breathed it in and I accepted it. And I had to let that voice go and just be present with it. So what I want you to do is I want you to look at the places where judgments come up and recognize any one of those judgments is a learned behavior that you either taught yourself or society taught you. Because it is our nature to love. It is who we are. To love ourselves and to love each other. And I want to challenge you to go for a week without saying anything harmful to another person or yourself. A whole week. And I want you to start today. I would take this on. Start today. And if you mess up, you can't do a judgment on yourself for messing up. You treat it as if it was a new moment. Oops. Oh well. It's a new moment. And you forgive yourself and you let it go and you move on and you try again. All right? Are you willing to take this on? I'm going to take it on too. I'm not going to, shy away from this. But this is where we create a world that works for everyone. This is where we go for a world that works for everyone. So here's the exercise that she says in the book. It's really easy. First of all, when you notice anger, sadness, jealousy, the person cutting you off, right? When you notice that happening, acknowledge the feeling. Oh, I'm angry. No, notice it. You're there. Oh, I notice I'm blaming. Oh, I've noticed I'm judging. Give it your full compassionate attention. So step 1, acknowledge the feeling. Step 2, give your full compassionate attention. Step 3, drop the storyline about the feeling. Don't fuel it with the concepts or opinions on whether it's good or bad. Oh, I shouldn't be angry now. Just be in it. 4, be present with the sensation. Where is it in your body? Does it remain the same for long? Does it shift and change as you're present to it? And number 5, stay present to it for 1.5 minutes and then let it go. And breathe. So this week, I want you to choose this week not to verbally express harm to anybody, including yourself. I want you to be present to your emotions instead of reacting. Feel them. And think about, what would it be like if I had complete freedom in myself? What would it be like to be completely free? What would it be like? How could it get any better than this? And just be open to what comes. Are you in? Yeah. All right. Let's pray.